Hi, I'm Wayne, and today here at Susu we're going to do some festive cooking. We're going to do an alternative to beef Wellington, and we're going to do a mushroom Wellington today. So this is obviously a vegan recipe. We've got 750 grams of mixed mushrooms, we've got some close cap and some chestnut mushrooms here, 125 grams of lentils. I'm using red lentils today. You can use rice as an alternative. We've got a large white onion. We've got garlic, which we're going to use 4 cloves of today, some olive oil. We've got pre-made vegan puff pastry, and an optional ingredient today, we're using baby spinach. So what we're going to do is we're going to peel our mushrooms. So to do that, it's just easy, just break the stalk off, underneath, peel off the skin. So now we're going to finely chop the mushrooms. The best way to do this is to keep it flat, slice them into slices, and then chop back across the slice. So next we're going to chop the onion up. So the best way to do this is to cut it in half using the stem at the bottom. Then it's easier to peel the 2 halves. Keep the stem intact on each half, because we're going to use that in a second to guide our knife when we chop the onion. Next thing we do is just chop the other end off, so keep the root intact, and you're laying it flat on the surface like that. And then we're going to use the root as a guide to go in at the bottom, all the way through the onion in thin strips, and then through the halfway point of the onion, almost to the very end again, keeping that root intact, and then let the knife do the work. Guide down, and it'll give you a fine dice. So once you've got your mushrooms and onions chopped, move on to the garlic. If you use the blade of the knife, crush it, it gets you off the peel very easily. So you can chop the root end off and use the rest of the garlic. And then we're just going to finally chop it. So next we're going to wash and cook our lentils. Follow the instructions on the packet before adding to this recipe. So what we're going to do is we're going to add half the oil to a pan and add the onions until they are translucent. So the onions are translucent now. What we're going to do next is add the salt and pepper for seasoning and add in all the mushrooms. Cool, so next we're going to take off the onions and mushrooms and put them into a paper towel. Get rid of some of the excess water. You basically want the mix to be as dry as possible when you add it to the puff pastry, so it doesn't steam from the inside and make it really soggy. And then same pan, back onto the heat. Don't worry if you've not got everything out of there, it's all going to be added to each other later on. What we're going to do then is fry up the last of the oil with the garlic and the spinach. And that will significantly reduce in size as you cook it. So spinach is optional. Garlic you can add into the mushroom and onion mix if you need to, if you're not using the spinach. Take it off the heat. And then leave that alone for a little bit before we add it to the next bowl with the rest of the ingredients. Then drain off the lentils and just leave them to drain, get as much water off as possible before we add it to the full mixture. Okay, so to a large mixing bowl, we're going to add all the ingredients we've done so far. So you've got the lentils, the mushroom and onion mix, and the spinach and garlic mix. And to this we're going to add 4 sprigs of thyme. And again, you just want the leaves of the thyme for this, not the stalks. You kind of run your hand down the stalk, that gets you all the leaves off. And then mix it all together. Okay, so we've got the cling film down on the counter. I'm just going to add the mix to the counter, in the middle. So once you've got all your mix down, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to add some large mushrooms into the middle of the mix. When you cut it up later on, you can get a good cut in the mushroom. It gives everyone an equal portion as we go through. And then wrap as tightly as you can. Once you've got the whole loaf wrapped tightly, we can add it in the fridge to cool down. This needs to go in the fridge for a few hours just to make sure it's completely cool before doing the pastry. Okay, so we've let the mixture cool in the fridge, so it's fully chilled now. Now we're going to prep the pastry on a fully lined baking tray with baking paper. Unwrap your mix, and now we're going to use the pastry to fully cover the entire mix. Pinch the ends together to tighten up. Fold down your ends and then flip it over so that the folds are on the bottom. So then what we're going to do is we're going to gently put some slits across the top, make sure you're not going all the way through. Then you cover over with some plant-based milk, and if you want to, you can add a little bit of turmeric for colour. That's an optional extra if you wanted to. So what we're going to do next is put it in the oven for about 25 minutes on about 200 degrees heat. Okay, now that that's cooked, we're going to chop it up and see how it looks. So feel free to add any extras you'd like vegetables, potatoes or gravy. We're going to plate it up now and see what it looks like. There you go, all good. Let's get some of that mixture in there with the pastry as well. It's really nice. And that's how you make a vegan festive meal for 6 people on a budget.